Hey horror fans, your favorite killer doll, Chucky, now has his own TV show. It premiered on both Sci-Fi and the USA Network at the same time. It can now be streamed on Hulu and Peacock. When they announced that Chucky will be continuing as a TV series, as a fan I was pretty excited. The great thing about Chucky is through 7 movies, the storyline has always been very consistent. They didn't really need to reboot or remake anything because they've always been pretty consistent with their lore and everything. So I was pretty on board and excited to see more Chucky. Unfortunately, it was picked up by the Sci-Fi channel, which isn't the greatest look since Sci-Fi has some pretty mediocre, pretty terrible special effects, and they don't have the greatest track record when it comes to TV shows. So I had no hope, but luckily I was pleasantly surprised. The series revolves around protagonist Jake Wheeler, played by Zachary Arthur. Jake is a middle school social outcast that has no friends, lives with an abusive single alcoholic father, and his hobby is making strange, creepy art with doll body parts. Now, I know this sounds like any stereotypical teen drama, because, well, it is. This is horror after all, there aren't many original characters. How do the writers make Jake stand out from other protagonists? A consistent theme throughout the Chucky series as a whole is its many themes of LGBTQ representation, but overall it has never been at the forefront of the series. Here though, Jake is openly gay. He has to deal with some unfortunate stigmas and bullying that may come along with that. His only support is Chucky, who is a doll possessed by the soul of a serial killer. I enjoyed the decision to have a gay lead protagonist, as I do not see many series that attempt to make a gay lead seem badass and have some type of power. It is also very easy to see how Jake trusts Chucky, as Chucky is a supportive one in his life, while others in his life are not as supportive of him. I enjoyed how they brought back the dynamic of having Chucky sort of become friends with a child again. I feel like they haven't had that in a long time. In the original 3 movies, he had a friendship with Andy Barclay, but Andy Barclay was much smaller. He was around 6 or 7 or somewhere around there. So he wasn't really that involved acting-wise. He was just a small little kid. Didn't really understand why his doll killed people or anything like that. It's a very limited relationship there. So it was really nice seeing this updated version where the kid is now a teenager and he can now question why this doll is walking around talking to him. And it's just funny seeing Chucky as a friend. There's scenes where Chucky and Jake are just sitting around having conversations and whatnot, and you have Chucky being the supportive one in his life, helping Jake through feelings that he may not be completely comfortable with. What I loved about the story is that while it is very generic at times, they never lean too long on a scene, due to using Chucky as a complete wild card. Jake's dad is abusive. Instead of getting long, drawn-out scenes and episodes that build up to inevitably Jake lashing out at him, Chucky takes care of him pretty quickly. Jake gets bullied by his peers, but Chucky is there to quickly help him. As cruel as it may be, I love the initial dynamic between Jake and Chucky. I liked how they tried to make the relationship with Chucky and the kid engaging. In previous entries in the series, Chucky is a killer doll that mostly lays idle or is moving in the shadows somewhere until he's ready to kill. The best part about Chucky is how animated he usually is when he's killing someone. He usually has grade A banter, he talks shit to people, he's laughing his ass off. He has a personality unlike many other slasher franchise villains. And the best part of this series is you get to see a lot of that personality. You get to see him having great moments, laughing his ass off, just enjoying himself as he tries to manipulate and kill everyone around him. The other characters are a bit of a mixed bag. There is Lexi, who is generally one of the most hateable characters I've ever seen. Even for being just a middle school girl, she does some truly awful things and the actress plays her so well. She's just so hateable. You just want her to die from the first scene she is in, and it's kind of annoying because they give her a redemption arc, so it feels invalidated why you hate her so much at first. Junior is Jake's cousin, who is supposed to be a jock type of character. He's pressured by his father to be the best at sports, and he's not fully committed to that. But the weird thing is, physically, he's not as tall as Jake, and his girl might be cheating on him, so the dynamic is kind of off in that sense. But it's kind of intentional with Junior not really wanting to be the type of person his father wants him to be. Then there is Devin, who is Jake's love interest. Devin is the host of his own true crime podcast, which seems to be pretty popular among series these days. I don't know, with Devin, I felt like they kind of missed the mark there. There's a couple of cute scenes with him and Jake, but overall, as a character, he kind of is really boring and doesn't really do much. He doesn't embrace the relationship as strongly as Jake does. There is Caroline, who is younger than the rest of the cast. She is Lexi's sister, and she actually befriends Chucky. So you have this little girl that actually looks up to Chucky, and you have a bunch of fun scenes out of that. There is also a cast of adult characters, but you know how it is in this movie. They pretty much don't know what's going on most of the time, and as soon as they found out, they're usually dead. I felt like they could have done a lot more with some of the parents. There's Junior's mother, where they kind of hype up some secret about her, but by the time it comes to light, it doesn't really matter or anything, and then she's just killed off in the episode, so it's kind of weak there. Then there's Devin's mother, who is a cop, and she seems pretty invested in the case originally and seems pretty involved with things, but her time is cut short too. There are a few returning characters from other entries in the series. This series takes place after a cliffhanger from the end of Cult of Chucky, where the ending was really out there and confusing. Now, do you need to watch the other movies before watching the series? Not necessarily. While there are many callbacks to older plots and characters, it is never the forefront of the overall plot of the series. I wish the returning characters had a bit more screen time than what they were given here. Andy Barkley, who is the most consistent protagonist in the series, makes a small appearance in the first episode, yet it takes so long for him to get into the action. As a fan, I just wish he was more present and they do more with him. In the previous movie, Curse of Chucky, it felt the same way. He was part of the movie, but very detached from the main plot, and it was too late by the time he got involved. I wish they would actually commit to focusing on him and his relationship with Chucky. Kyle, who's the older foster sister in Child's Play 2, she makes a return, but honestly, she barely does anything. Then we have Nika, who was the main character in the last two movies, The Cult of Chucky and The Curse of Chucky. She's played by Fiona Dorff, and she does a phenomenal job with what she has to do. Like, by far the best actress in the show, and if the show was more about her, it would be incredible. And it's really complicated to explain her character. It's basically a multiple personality type of thing. The actual character, Nika, I kind of feel bad for her at the end. I really hope she gets a redemption arc in season 2. And it was nice to see Jennifer Tilly back again as an actual character, rather than just being a cameo for a few movies. There is a portion of the series dedicated to flashbacks to Charles Lee Ray and covers things from his childhood to when he met Tiffany. A problem that many horror series have is the longer a series goes on, the more the writers feel that they need to throw in useless exposition to expand the character's lore. The problem is that they do not really come up with anything engaging that makes the character interesting. The first few episodes of the series contain brief scenes where Charles is young and something violent happens in his childhood. They at the very least make these scenes creepy and brief enough that they are enjoyable and connect to the episode. Near the back end of the series, they start introducing Tiffany into the mix. I was not a big fan of these scenes because it simply boils down to Chucky and Tiffany being complete psychopaths that enjoy killing and can kill in broad daylight or in their apartments with people screaming at the top of their lungs and blood oozing through the floors, and somehow no one notices anything. Maybe it could have been more interesting if Tiffany was more hesitant to kill and Chucky was more manipulative towards her. Maybe even have a scene where Tiffany is mistreated and Chucky convinces her to retaliate. But instead, he just finds a woman who is horny for killing. I don't know, I enjoy the main plot with the kids way more than some of the flashbacks near the end of the series. The design of Chucky is overall very good here. I think it's probably the best the doll has ever looked. It is more of an updated take on the Good Guy doll's original design from the first 3 films. I am not too big of the fan of the Franken Chucky look from the Bride and Seed of Chucky movies. And then in The Curse and The Cult of Chucky, he just looks too pale. Here, he is very expressive. The special effects in general for the animatronics are all pretty good throughout the series. I do not think there was any specific scenes where things were too goofy or looked really out of place for me. There's also a Chucky transformation partway through the series that is really well done. They did a great job on the effects for that one. My least favorite part of the series was the consistent use of music montages throughout the show. The directors really love to just insert montage scenes into every episode, sometimes even multiple times in a single episode. I think during these moments, the show resembled a generic teen TV drama more than anything. They just felt unnecessary to me. Overall, I thought the show was very fun and worth a watch for horror fans. In terms of scares, the show is not very scary at all, and there is also not many jump scares throughout the series, which kind of surprised me. The best part of the show, of course, is Chucky, who has significant screen time throughout every episode. Brad Dourif, as always, is so great as Chucky. He has such a great voice and laugh, and it's so consistent throughout the series. There are many solid and fun kills, and then you see Chucky just laughing and just having a great time. And it's probably the most screen time and kills Chucky gets than any of his movies. I think the finale was kind of confusing though. It kind of ended in the same way as the last movie did, where there's a lot of questions unanswered. There's a mystery throughout the series that you're somewhat trying to figure out, and by the time they get to it, I don't think it makes much sense, to be honest, compared to the rules from the last movie. In season 2, I just hope the veteran characters get more screen time, as their presence was very bare in the season. Give Andy a proper showdown with Chucky. With the way the series ended, I think there is a potential for the season to be somewhat written like a pseudo anthology in a way, where there are different protagonists and stories each episode, but overall it has an overarching plot connecting them to the ending of the series. That's my hope, at least. We will see what happens. I enjoyed Chucky a lot. I really like how consistent the series has been throughout its history. While other horror series have branched off into remakes or remasters, reboots, whatever, Chucky has been pretty consistent throughout, besides that one remake, which wasn't even that bad and it's been abandoned, I guess. So it's good to see how the lore and everything has been pretty much consistent throughout all this. What is there, like 7 movies and now this TV show, and looks like we got season 2 coming up. So that's great. I recommend it. I would say if you're into horror, this is one of the better TV series adaptations. I would give it maybe a 7.5 out of 10, 8 out of 10 as a fan. So check it out. I hope you enjoy Chucky, the TV series.